you know, I certainly didn't fully understand how far your basketball experience went back. And like I said, 5 decades is an incredible time. And that first reference point for me was 1971 for that first National League game. But obviously you were involved with the game even before that. So can you give us a brief kind of overview of how you got in the game and how you got into, elite performance basketball coaching?
Well, it was a kind of strange situation. I went to Red Brick Grammar School in Birmingham, and the PE teacher there, a guy called John Shakespeare, no relation to William, we're not quite that old, and John played basketball for the BAI, which is the Birmingham Athletic Institute, and he also played for Great Britain. I was massively disappointed later on to discover that he didn't play in the 1948 Olympics. I thought he did, but apparently he was injured. And just as something to do, he introduced basketball to the sixth form, and we played very few games, but that's where it all started. And then I went to college in London. It was a very strange, complicated situation, but we were allied to the University of London Institute of Education Sports Association. And because I'd played a little basketball, we had a college team. I got roped in to the London University team, where not only was I the only English person, I was the only English person who spoke English. I mean, it was just a weird concoction. So that's where it all started, very much by accident.
When you said that you were the only English person, are we talking mostly Americans, or were there some Europeans that actually knew a little bit about the game at that time? What was, who were these people that were playing this strange sport at that time?
No, I mean, the Americans that were around didn't seem to be that interested. I really don't know why. So we had this mix of Greeks, Turks, we had a Russian, we had an Armenian, we had an Egyptian. This tells you how far back it was. We even had someone who was actually Persian. So we were just a weird mix with this strange, well, I thought he was Greek coach, but in fact he came from Macedonia. And he spoke this amazing smattering of all languages, except English. So it was all a bit of a mystery for me. And I did try to work it out once, and I lost track. But I think for every minute I got to play, I traveled 600 miles.
Okay. Now, how did you end up getting from that university process to getting involved in, in the National League teams or basketball in a more structured sense in England?
Well, again, it was a kind of strange journey. I went back to Birmingham to teach in a very, very large comprehensive school. Education historians might remember Shirley Williams, and it was one of her pride and joys. It was Sheldon Heath Comprehensive School, a very large PE department, a new head of department. He came in and he said, "You played some basketball, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Right, you're in charge of basketball." Right. So I basically coached the teams. There were a couple of other guys, not PE teachers, who played a little basketball, and they helped me. And I mean, again, this dates me a little bit. In my first team, I had one Roy Birch playing in my school team, and also Simon Fisher's father, David.
Wow!
So they played in my school teams.
That's incredible, Coach. So your lineage is, with these, incredible basketball people, especially, Dave Fisher is, almost the godfather of Midlands basketball. I mean, that's amazing that you were the one that taught them how to play, and subsequently they obviously became coaches, and all of the rest of their history from there. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible, and they were strange times, and Birmingham basketball was quite strong. I mean, there was a thriving schools league, and after 1 year of getting involved with the school team, I met Malcolm Burgess, another legend. He got me playing with a team called Old Northamptonians, which was an old boys team. But he also was responsible for running the representative teams in Birmingham, and that's where I made the next step. And I got involved with Birmingham schools basketball and the representative teams. He was at Kings Norton Grammar School, which was the home of Andy Brown, Steve Asinda. I was coaching slightly before that. They came in when I moved back down to the south. So that was the next step up. I was playing for Old Northamptonians. If you look back into the history books, you'll see that they actually played in an intermediate final at the Albert Hall.
At the Albert Hall.
At the Albert Hall.
Wow. So at this time, did you realize that this was what you had a love, you had a passion for it, for coaching? Did you sense that, or was this, kind of a process because you just happened to have an expertise? Being called on, this, what was the process at this time?
Well, the simple answer to your first question was no. I was a rugby player. Rugby was my sport. Basketball was something I just did. And then as time moved on, I became more and more interested. But I really was a late starter at the game. I taught in Birmingham for 6 years and got more and more involved with Birmingham schools basketball, both with the representative teams and running the leagues. But it was just a very, really low level. I went on courses. I went to something infamously called the Blackpool Easter School, which I think was really more of a social occasion. But, I went up there and met Keith Mitchell and did courses up there, did a course with Brian Coleman. So I was, trying to improve my knowledge, but rugby was still my main sport. I was playing at quite a high level, and I wasn't doing rugby at school. I was the basketball person, so very much by accident.